Welcome in and welcome back to the Gym Lounge Happy Hour. I'm Red. This is Noah. And, we gotta start off with the segment we start off every week. It's everyone's favorite segment. Does the AC work? Do we have AC?
We absolutely do, Red. Thank you for asking.
Unbelievable.
We do. The day after I went in and kind of asked for an update, and he kind of gave me the runaround. The next day they had done some work, and then the day after that we had functioning AC. So
It's a little longer than that, but
and my
I think it was like 4 or 5 days later, but it was within a reasonable amount of time.
It was. So that's good. Now we just got to get some of our members to stop opening the garage door.
And we probably need to fix their tubing that they put in too.
Yeah, they just did whatever they wanted with the drain tube. They just screwed it in a couple brackets to the wall, which is actually the outside of our bathroom.
Yeah.
And
very visible.
Yeah, very.
If you
and then they pinched one of our other drain tubes right to the wall. Or the drain tube for this thing goes to the other side of the room, and it was.
Oh, this is pinched to the wall?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they didn't make any effort to go on the other side of it, or.
And they didn't make any effort to move this drain tube into where. So we have this drain tube. There used to be a utility sink over there that this would drain into.
Yeah.
Well, for the new AC, for it to drain, we pulled out the utility sink, and so we've been having this drain into our bucket that we mop with, our mop bucket, and then we dump it every so often. We don't run this very often, so it's not like it gets dumped very frequently.
Yeah.
Well, they took the drain from the utility sink and put in the new AC and drained it to that. That's where it's draining to. But they didn't decide to move this one over there at the same time. This one's still hooked up to the mop bucket.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And then they managed to pinch it off.
And they literally the tube that was there, they went right over top of it, bracketed their new tubing to the wall, and just it's garbage craftsmanship. It's a little embarrassing.
If you were to want it to look nice, you would have taken kind of up to the ceiling, over the wall, and down. Would have been.
Oh, yeah, they had options.
And I guess up doesn't necessarily work because it's water. It's got to flow down. But they could have ran it to the other wall and around. There were a couple options. They took it just straight across, shortest route possible, and they made it go down and then up.
Yeah, there's a belly right outside of the AC unit where it's draining, and the water just collects, and it's already starting to scuzz up the tubing.
Yeah, that's going to develop some sort of molding, right?
Yeah, and they'll have to change out. It's just going to look super gross because it's clear tubing. For that reason, you got to see when you got to replace it and everything.
I think we could probably hop up there and just straighten it out, right? Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure we could do something.
So that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so we'll have to do. But long story short, we got AC, and
it functions great.
There's everybody but one person's happy about that. Not gonna name names. Gmo, psycho, serial killer.
When do we kick him out?
I don't know. When he stops being a committed member.
When he stops by at Celcius's.
Yeah, that's true. Number one client for Celcius sales. Yeah, that's absolutely great.
So, AC's working, heat's working, internet's still not working.
Baby steps, dude.
Baby steps. Progress is being made. Noah put up a shelf today. Or not today, sorry.
No, not today.
Last Saturday, a week ago.
Something like that. Yeah. No, I've been doing just the last Saturday. Not anything since then.
I don't think there's been anything done at the gym since last Saturday from either one of us.
I vacuumed. You hold your tongue.
I walked on. What?
You walked.
I did walk.
Yeah, so you're not doing anything productive. You're just fucking dancing.
Can you show me your walk?
I'm sitting down. What do you fucking want me to do?
I wiped on a counter out there today.
Yeah, you made a mess because you were whopping all over the counter. You had to wipe it down. Sure.
Oh,
Jesus.
God.
Yeah. And there's stains on the counter now because I put my wet Celsius on.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's unbelievable. So speaking of Celcius's to a certain extent, completely changing gears here. I'm in the process of trying to switch over to healthier foods to a certain extent. Things that are not as bad for you. I'm not trying to be like jumping ship and going 100% one way or the other, but I'm trying to make these slow adjustments because I had that head issue happen that we talked about last time, and it's still lingering to a certain extent. There's still slight issues with it, and the urgent care doctor had pointed to energy drinks. He's like, we don't really know what's in them or what they're doing, and like that kind of like made a shift in my head. I'm like, you know what? That's actually very valid.
Did you tell him that you do 9 tablespoons of sugar in your oatmeal?
We don't do that anymore.
He sent me a picture of your oatmeal, and the entire top was sugar. I saw it's a big bowl, and all I saw was a rim of oatmeal. The rest was sugar, and I'm like, holy shit, you gotta stop.
You want to talk about oatmeal?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Cinnamon's healthy.
I don't care how healthy cinnamon is, not in those dosages.
Oh my goodness.
It was his oatmeal looks like there's chocolate in there. He puts in so much cinnamon, and that's not an exaggeration. I thought he had chocolate oatmeal.
There's peanut butter in there too.
Oh my god, I gotta stop rubbing my tattoo.
Stop doing it.
Shit, damn it. I screwed that. Anyways, even still, let's say I use a ton of sugar or whatnot. That's still a natural source of sweetener. It's probably better than the sucralose, aspartame, and everything else that they use in these energy drinks. Would be my guess. Like,
I don't know.
Especially
I don't know if we can say better, but I mean, sugar and the effects on the brain probably a thing. Especially yours, it's still developing. So.
Oh my god. So I've switched over to just coffee as my caffeine source because like.
That's a big Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, you want to hear the great part about that too? And so I've been doing like 5 or 6 shots of espresso a day. Because, well, that's the other thing is to make my brain kind of function normally, like what levels it all out. Like, because like I said, it's been kind of off still, is caffeine. And so that's where I still think it's kind of maybe a migraine-ish issue. But if I don't get caffeine in, I'm having like mental lag, headaches, and slight dizziness still. Once the caffeine hits, I'm good. So that was a large iced coffee from Dunkin' that I drank down to probably about here. And then when I got home, I added 2 shots of espresso to it. And pulled out the sugar and just dumped some sugar into.
Oh my god.
But I'm still of the belief that like even with you going Dunkin' or Starbucks and you're eating not that you're eating regular sweeteners and things like that, and they're like, yeah, it's super sugary. It's not great for you. It's probably still better than the artificial sweeteners that are in something like a Reign or a Celcius or things like that.
I will give it to you. I think we have Reign over there. We could compare the ingredients list, but I mean the Celcius. What it says other ingredients with a colon, which I don't know what that means, but that starts listing ingredients. So I would assume it's not other ingredients as in other ingredients we're not listing.
Right.
It's just saying this is the ingredients list. Carbonated filtered water, citric acid, natural flavors, sucralose, beta carotene. Carotene? Carotene. For color.
Yeah, it's keratin.
But then that's it. But I mean, you look at Reign, Monster,
Yeah.
that
Keep
thing's
talking,
a
I'm gonna grab
fucking
one.
third of the can. So I mean, in terms of energy drinks, I think other than the caffeine content being lower than Reign's and Monster, or lower than Reign's.
It's lower than Reign. It's lower than Reign and Bang. Reign and Bang get you up at 300 to where Celsius is going to be 2. Monster's only like 160 or something like that.
Right.
Like they're pretty low. So if you need caffeine, that's not your go-to source. All right. So, and I think the reason it says other ingredients is they list things that were added up at the top. Like this one's got potassium, vitamin B6, niacin, and vitamin B12 in it. So like those are technically ingredients that they probably added. So then it goes to other ingredients because it's not listed in the nutrition label.
Gotcha.
So this one's carbonated water, citric acid. This is a great segment. We're just reading fucking ingredients. Sodium citrate, leucine, natural flavors, caffeine, L-isoleucine, L-valine. So actually, it's hitting your. Those are the 3 things that are BCAAs. So like they're at least giving you BCAAs in this one.
Sure, which I think it doesn't say that.
It does, BCAA amino stuff, yeah. But it's probably not in the right. That's supposed to be in a 3:1:1 ratio. I think it's probably not in the right ratios. It would be my guess because they're not listed up here of how much they put in. If they're putting in the right stuff, they would tell you.
Sure.
Sucralose, sodium benzoate, which is a preservative, potassium citrate, potassium sorbate, which is another preservative, acesulfame, potassium, niacinamide, which is apparently vitamin
We've
B3.
already established words are not our thing.
Magnesium lactate, coenzyme Q10, which is supposed to be good for you. I don't know a lot about it, but like that's one of the things they advertise up here is their coenzyme Q10. Like it's supposed to be good for the brain, I think. Just start drinking these.
Yeah, now you go back to Reigns, you fucking asshole.
What else we got? We have peroxide, hydrochloride, which is apparently vitamin B6.
Perfect.
That's
It's
us.
healthy.
Cyanocobalamin, which is apparently vitamin B12. What? Why not just say vitamin B12? But regardless, a lot more ingredients over here.
Sure. And
But they both still have the sucralose,
Yeah.
which is probably not great for you. I know I just saw an article about aspartame being added to a potential cancer-causing agent this week, which apparently there's a whole thing on those. I've been seeing videos pop up where, like, just because it's added to those lists like that, it actually doesn't mean shit. Like, there's a lot of things that, like, they get added to these lists, and they're actually not dangerous. Like, this guy was listing off all these things that have been added to these potential cancer-causing things, and they're cancer-causing in these insane numbers.
Sure.
Like, and we're consuming them in these smaller numbers that no one's, like, the one that he was talking about, I can't remember what it was, but it's something that goes on vegetables or whatnot. It's like, and the only people that were even close to being an issue with it are the people literally spraying it onto them because they're so close contact with this much.
Sure.
Once you're actually consuming, it's not an issue, but it's on this list because it is a cancer-causing agent. Because when you have it in these large quantities, yes, it's a cancer-causing agent. But it was something like you had to eat, like, I think it might have been bananas or something stupid ridiculous. And then you had to eat like 500 bananas a day to get to that level for 3 years.
Sure. I mean, and I don't know, logically in my mind, there's got to be something in our society or culture that's cancer causing. Like we have a relatively high number of cancer
Sure.
patients, but maybe that in comparison to when they're back then, there was still that much cancer in terms of
It just wasn't detected.
percentage. Yeah, it wasn't detected. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
But
that
I
either.
mean, our diet's definitely changed over time, and we do consume a lot more bullshit foods and stuff on
Yeah.
a daily basis. So
It's a lot of things with preservatives in it and shit. And what's a preservative really like? It's probably not great.
no idea. It's probably like gluten. Just a phantom thing.
But with all this, so like the doctor brought up the Celcius or just energy drinks in general. I'm like, you know what? I probably should
Is
start.
your doctor older?
So this was just the urgent care doctor. It's not my primary care. He was tough to read age-wise. I would say he could be anywhere from like early 30s to late 40s, somewhere in that range.
Gotcha.
So not a young guy, but not crazy old either. He's not an old white hair that's been a doctor.
We're early 30s, so watch your tongue.
You're early 30s. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're right. You're old.
Oh my god. So I started making a shift in my head about trying to eat differently and eat healthier, because the other thing too is I've been reading so much and seeing so many TikToks, mostly less reading, more seeing, like type of thing,
Sure.
just about how unhealthy food is in America. Like the things that are not allowed in other countries that we do in America.
That's pretty crazy.
And like that can't be good.
Right.
And so I'm trying to take more control over the things I'm choosing. And I'm not going overboard with it. Like I'm trying to avoid things that are sugar free, because I'm like, I'd rather have sugar than the aspartame or the sucralose that's going to be substituting for the sugar free type of thing. And
Sure.
then
And aspartame typically in like diet drinks.
yes, yep,
Yep. So for those that are trying to go the diet route,
yeah.
yeah, diet pops have all sorts of aspartame.
Because the bad thing with sugar is you're getting additional calories and you're spiking your blood sugar and things like that, which are things I can account for in my diet. I have my macros that I'm trying to hit, and so I account for the sugar that I'm consuming in that. I'd rather account for that as a calorie than go consume aspartame or sucralose and be at 0 calories. Because that's generally the reason why those are going to be in there, is they're trying to get you to a 0 calorie or very close to 0 calories. So
Yeah.
they replace the sugar with it. Along those same lines, I am looking at probably going and just buying like a side of cow instead of continuing to go to a grocery store. I did that a while back. My uncle had a small farm. He raised a steer for us, grass-fed all the way through. No antibiotics, no steroids, none of that stuff. So I knew where it was coming from. I knew what it was. He doesn't do that anymore, but us being in this area, we have a little more control over knowing what is going on
Yeah.
with the beef, that if we're going to go, or pork or whatever it is you're going to get, we have a little more control over it.
So how many steaks or meals did that? Do you remember?
That was like 5 or 6 years ago, but it worked out to where it was $2 a pound for everything.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like that's included his feed cost, everything across the board, like getting it butchered, $2 a pound. And like this was when ground beef was like $2 a pound. So like we were getting steaks and roast and everything for ground beef prices. And then we got some ground beef out of it too, obviously, but
Sure.
like I mean, it was a hell of a deal, and you're not going to find that everywhere. But so on top of it being healthier, it was cheaper.
Yeah.
Like so, I'm gonna the only issue.
A storage.
Exactly, that's the bigger issue that people normally have is they don't have a place to store this kind of stuff.
Which, if you went in on it with a group of friends,
Which is what we did. There was three families that
yeah,
it took the whole cow and divided it up and everything. So I'm starting to look back into that, so I have a little more control over that side of my food too. And same thing with like eggs. When eggs were at their highest this past winter, I think it was, the free range eggs actually were lower in price than the like normal just standard old eggs. And so I started eating the free range eggs, and I've stuck with it now that the price is up. I luckily in a position where I can afford to pay those types of prices for it, but I've continued to eat those, and I just on the one-off, they were out of the free range eggs, grabbed a regularly sold 18-pack of eggs the other day. They taste so much different now. Like even just the flavor's different, which is wild to me. They taste worse.
Really, I've eaten free range or pasture raised.
That's what I'm doing, the pasture range,
Yeah,
not the free
free
range.
range. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
You gotta look up, there's various terms, and they actually don't mean what you think they mean.
Yeah.
Like cage-free versus free range versus pasture-raised. They don't truly mean what you think they mean always.
Right. Yeah, no, I left all the Googling to my wife, and pasture raised.
That's the route you want to go.
Pasture raised seems to be the best in terms of humanely raising the chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah, the eggs though. I mean, I don't know if you live in a rural area. I mean, people are selling them left and right from their farms at $3, $4, maybe even $5 a dozen, and that's still cheaper than the.
Yeah, at Walmart where I'm getting the pasture raised ones, they're $6, $6.50 a dozen. So like they're, I mean, like you're saying, around here you can get them much cheaper if you're buying them from a local source, which I probably do start doing. It's just not as convenient. You're at the grocery store, you grab what's there
for sure.
But I think the micronutrient profile is different too in the pasture raised.
I imagine it is.
So like the flavor's different, and then you could see it. I the other day cracked 2 sets of eggs, like, cause I had like 2 left of the old ones and 2 of the new ones, and put them in the same bowl as make scrambled egg. Color is insanely. I knew the color was different, like, cause you noticed right away. But
which is an indication of the micronutrients in the yolk.
The pasture raised ones so dark and like vibrant. I corrected them, they look like water.
They do.
The other ones next to them, like you don't notice it until you switch over. So it's another way. Overall, that's the other thing too. Like when you're looking at beef and you're looking grass-fed beef, the one thing they don't tell you is it may be grass-fed, but then it's corn finished, and they really screw you over there a lot of times. Like that was one thing I learned when I was eating paleo is you had to make sure is get grass-fed and grass-finished if you're looking. That's the type of beef you're looking for. If that's the type of paleo, you're trying to avoid grains, so you don't want them corn finishing the thing because then you're consuming the grains that you're trying to avoid.
Right.
So there's all these pitfalls in trying to eat different and healthy too that you just gotta learn over time type of thing. And so I'm gonna slowly try to transition into things. The coffee's the one thing that I've really made the change with this past 2 weeks, just trying to switch over to coffee.
Do you have any idea about the caffeine content?
No, I gotta look it up. Standard cup of coffee is what, 90 grams? No, 45. Like normal cup of coffee is 45 grams of caffeine in a normal cup of coffee. And so something like that, where that's probably 3-ish cups of coffee in that size. So
milligrams, not grams.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Psycho.
Doing a gram a day. Yeah, so that's probably 3 cups of coffee. If that's just regular coffee, I have been doing a lot of espresso instead of the standard coffee, which has more caffeine in it.
See, I don't know. I'm not a coffee person. Espresso is
higher caffeine content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you do shots of it, apparently.
They come out in shots. Standard. Most people will do like a double shot. It's pretty standard for like if you go to Starbucks. If you go to Starbucks, you order a grande. It's gonna have 2 shots in it.
Does it change the taste or anything, or it's just purely to add caffeine?
I mean, it's gonna change the taste in the sense of So I'll generally order like a large at Starbucks, which is a venti, and depending on which one you order, is either 3 shots or 4 shots, depending on what type of thing you're ordering. I'll always go with the 4 shots, so I may order the 3-shot drink and add a shot to it to get to the 4th shot.
Sure.
And so that's going to change the flavor because now you have more coffee and less milk. Like you ordered a latte, like they put in the 4 shot, they normally put in the 3 shots and then fill the rest with milk. That's what fills up the rest, and some sweeteners and things like that. But like it's filling up the rest with milk, and so if you add that 4th shot, it's now taking up more space. There's less milk, so it's going to change the flavor of your drink as a whole. But there's plenty of people. I used to do it too. Like you can get an Americano at Starbucks, which is just coffee, just espresso and water.
You're such a basic fucking white bitch.
Well, here's the crazy thing too. I decided to go to Dunkin' today because I'm like, Dunkin's cheaper. It used to always be cheaper. So I've been getting my 4 shots of espresso at Starbucks. It's about $5 to $6 depending on what I get, which is costly. Like that's expensive. And like I do have an espresso machine at home.
I could buy 2 brains for that.
You can. Like that's kind of like the energy drinks are a much more cost-effective way to get the caffeine. But I'll dive into that in a second. Let me finish my first thought. So, $5 or $6 normally for the 4 shots of espresso that I'm ordering, which we said is a higher caffeine content than coffee. Large coffee at Dunkin' was $4, and that's going to be a lot less caffeine, and I'm almost at the same price. So Dunkin' is no longer, does not seem like it is cheaper than what Starbucks traditionally was. I used to be able to get a large iced coffee in the summer between like 2 to 6 p.m. their happy hour or whatever for $2.
Oh,
So
those
like
are the good old days, I'm sure.
and I think normal price was like $3, but this was like 4 something today. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, and then the plan the whole time was to drink a little bit and go home and throw espresso on top of it. So like it's I don't know what was I circling back to though.
Cost of energy drinks, 2 energy drinks was $4.50 or something.
Yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, I don't know what I was gonna say there, but
Your brain's just firing on all cylinders.
We got it going. I got the caffeine in me. But yeah, energy drinks, they are a more cost-efficient approach to it. Oh, that's where I was going. Caffeine sources can vary how they affect you, though. And that's the other thing, too, is no one pays attention to what type of caffeine is in the energy drinks that they're drinking.
Sure.
And they all do them differently. Some do like green tea extract. Some do from anhydrous. I think it's a caffeine anhydrous. Some will do it from coffee. Some will do it from various sources. And those can all impact your body differently. And you may have a different reaction to it. And that's something that I don't know a whole lot about. I've been slowly learning more about that. In the past year, someone brought that up. I'm like, oh shit, that I didn't know that. That makes sense. Because like sometimes I would have like a Reign, and it wouldn't do shit for me in comparison to like drinking a Red Bull, which has half the caffeine, but the Red Bull would do more for me. But it's a different source of caffeine.
I used to do the Celcius's, the peach mango, the green tea ones.
Yeah.
And I could tell, I was able to focus a lot more with those. The
Sure.
Reigns, I think it's just the taste that I was looking for, and I don't remember as much focus as the Celsius.
Yeah, this doesn't even, the Reign just says caffeine. It doesn't say what type of caffeine, where it's coming from. This one over here is a proprietary blend, which so you're still not going to know how much of everything, but it does tell you everything that's in it. So it's got taurine, guarana, and then caffeine as caffeine anhydrous. That seems to be pretty common. Ginger extract root, and then tea leaf extract. So this has the caffeine anhydrous and the green tea leaf extract, which are both going to provide caffeine to you. So this is going to have a different approach. I would imagine the caffeine that's one is caffeine anhydrous. That seems to be the most common. I'm assuming it's probably cheaper than many other sources. It's probably why that's the one you see the most. So you're going to get a different effect from the Celsius than you are the Reign. And each person probably reacts differently to it too. So like that Celsius may be more effective for, like my mom came in here, she used to pound Red Bulls like crazy. Like she was a big Red Bull person. She just likes the flavor, which is wild.
Tastes like vodka to me typically.
That's fair. Because my mom loved Red Bull, I grew up loving Red Bull too as a kid. At track meets, just pounding Red Bulls.
Oh my god.
But so she used to do Red Bulls, and she likes the Red Bull. It gives her some energy. But she had one Celsius, and she said it gave her energy like nothing else she'd ever drank before. And it's tough for her because she also doesn't like. She can detect sucralose or aspartame in anything that you like. She just knows it immediately. like you would have, like, I don't know how she knows, but she just knows. I'm like, oh, I don't taste that stuff. Like, for whatever reason, she can detect it, and it has the sucralose in it, but it's one that she said isn't as bad as the other ones too. So maybe they have a lower amount of sucralose than some of those other ones.
It is towards the end of the ingredient list, which,
Yeah.
from what I've read, if the ingredient is listed towards the beginning of the list, there's more of it.
Mhm.
So with it listed at the end, there is less of sucralose.
How do you think they define that? Is it by weight?
They're not gonna tell us.
Yeah, because like I knew that was a thing, like that it's in order of how much is in there, but how is that defined? Is it weight? Is it size? Like is it ounces? Like it's and that's not
ask me a question I can answer.
Which vodka is the best vodka?
Cheetos.
Oh.
For the cost, let's say.
Oh, okay.
For the cost.
Got it.
If I'm going fancy, like it's typically Grey Goose, man.
Really? Not Ciroc?
Ciroc's fine. Ciroc's good, but Grey Goose I think is a tier up. Sorry, P Diddy.
Is P Diddy a Ciroc guy?
P Diddy came up with Ciroc.
No idea.
It's P Diddy's.
I'm a massive drinker.
Oh my god, that's funny. So, going back to your dizziness, did we finish your update there? You said it's still kind of there.
It's just kind of around. I guess I went to the doctor. I don't know if I had gone for my follow-up on my PCP when we talked last time or not, but I did. I did because we talked about how he's an idiot. So I had gone to him for that.
I feel like it's every episode we talk about how one of us is an idiot.
Yeah, well, the doctor was an idiot. It wasn't me this time.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was kind of a real douche, but he said call back if it continues and we'll run a CT. He was out of town this week, so I wasn't going to call back.
Instead of just running the CT, which
logically made the most sense. Let's rule things out. But I did run the cost estimator. So I sent you a text last week when I got my bill for the insurance company, or not from the firm, just the bill in general from the hospital, which most of it was covered by insurance. Luckily for me, I have good insurance. It was covered. My bill was like $60. But I went in and started breaking down the actual cost of it all, and it's insane. It was like $238 at the urgent care to see a doctor for 30 minutes. And I'm like, that is insane, but that's topic for another day. I went in, they have this estimator where you can estimate the cost of a service. I'm like, oh, let's see how much CT is going to cost me out of pocket. $700 out of pocket.
Woo.
Yeah, that's with insurance. So,
Gmo, we're going to need you to buy more Celcius.
just a couple more, just a few. So maybe that's why the CT is not a go-to, like, immediate. He's maybe thinking cost efficient, like, because in his mind, this is something that just happens to people and it'll resolve itself on its own.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's necessarily the best approach when you're talking head things.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But so I am probably still going to call back next week and get a CT run. I am out of town next week, so it'll probably be a couple more weeks before I go and get that done. But that is the next step. I did get my testosterone blood work back this past week, and good news, testosterone's at a normal level. Bad news, testosterone's at a normal level. I haven't talked to the doc yet because he's been out of town, but I have a feeling they will not be giving me TRT. And normal range for males our age, they say, is 240, 256, 264, 250-ish to 900. You know, just huge ass range,
Right.
which makes no sense. And well, they lump in 19-year-old men up to 39-year-old men, which doesn't make any sense at all.
No, not at all.
And when you know that part, then you understand why the range is so wide.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's 39-year-old men are going to be closer to that 250 and the 19-year-old men are going to be closer to that 900.
Right.
But my first test was 300, and then this second follow-up test, it was now like 415. So I am pretty far into that normal range, which means I don't think they're going to prescribe me TRT. But when talking with my trainer previously, we were talking about trying to get me up to like that 600 level. And so now that I'm up into it high enough, I don't think this doctor's probably going to do much for me on that end.
Which then leaves what, the clinic by doing it yourself?
Yeah, I think I got to contact Merrick Health, who we ran our blood tests through originally, and see if they'll prescribe it at that rate. So, and I am going to wait it out a little bit. I did pay for my Merrick blood test, and instead got all this stuff happen. So I never even got my blood work done for my follow-up with Merrick. So I still have another blood test to take, my plan is to. Why does this keep popping up? My plan is. My plan is to. Oh my god! For the audio listeners, that's gonna be real confusing. I was talking to my watch. Siri keeps popping up on me. The plan is to. I'm gonna keep dropping because the main reason I think my TRT or my testosterone went up was due to diet changing slightly, and then also weight loss. Weight loss, I think, is the primary reason. When I first took it, I was 245. I was down to 225 when I took it the second time.
What about stress at the gym?
I'm sure that plays a factor too, and I would probably be lower-ish stress when I took this test. Actually, I was probably significantly lower stress because I hadn't been lifting for almost a week because of the head stuff going on. So
when you also, you got on a different program, one that you mentally, could attack better.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Definitely lower mental stress, and then I think even within that week and a half going into the blood draw, physical stress was down too because I was running a lot less, barely any, and I was lifting basically none too going into that. So stress would have been lower. So I'm still trying to lose weight. I'm going to try to get the weight down closer to probably like 215, and then I'll take the test again, see where it's at, and if it keeps going up, then I'm going to keep running that course for a little bit, see if I can't, stretch that out as far as I can, and then if I really want to get on TRT, I'll go back up 245 pounds and go get a couple tests done, get on some TRT.
Gotta at least just look into it for the, by yourself for the clinic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, have you lifted it all?
Yeah, so I did get back to let's get down here.
Oh my god.
So I have gotten back to lifting-ish. I am closer to what I was doing before all the head stuff started happening, but I am taking it easy to a certain extent. Like if it starts feeling like I'm pushing myself too hard, I cut it back a little bit and cut off like the last set, or don't push the weight as much, and various things just to kind of make it somewhat easier on myself, because I feel like if I still have the head stuff going on, I want to still recover from that. And if I put additional fatigue on my body, then there's going to be recovery devoted to that, and I don't want to spread myself too thin at this point. So,
You know what you're doing?
no, I don't. We got it. So overall, I am closer to what I was lifting before, but I may be scrapping it all and going on to something else. With the main thought process in mind of the beautiful doctor that I have, my PCP, he did say I may have the start of a couple hernias, and I have a wedding in 3 months. I prefer not to have a hernia pop through, a month before that.
I just pictured your belly button popping out on the altar.
Perfect. It'll be perfect. So I am going to, I haven't fully decided, because I'm in a weird spot where I am. It was a 3-week waves is what I was running, and I am halfway through it all. I'm in the middle of wave 2, exactly middle, like I'm perfectly in the center of it.
And this gets you to the bachelor party, right?
This gets me to Iceland, which is 2 weeks after the bachelor party. So I got 4 weeks left, essentially, is where I'm sitting with this. A little over 4 weeks, because I think it's 5 actual weeks on the calendar, but I got a little behind on my list, so I'm going to kind of double up on some stuff, run my list a little closer than I had planned on, if I were to complete it. And I feel like it's such an effective program that I want to see it through.
Yeah.
But I also don't feel like causing damage to myself, so.
Well, you said it's specific movements that cause the pressure, so you can avoid.
Which I've cut those out already. I've been slowly cutting those out and swapping them with things that feel better for that. So there's that. Like, it's luckily not the main movers causing problems, with the exception of my overhead press. What I think could be causing some of my head issue, or all of it, is this muscle on the back of my neck, from basically the trap up through the ear, super tight on my right side. And we've been working on it, trying to get it loose, and it's just ridiculously tight. And I could logically see that causing issues in the head. Like, it's leading right there. Like,
Yeah, sounds like you need to go see a physio.
what's that?
Yep. I got you.
Jesus Christ. So we've been working on trying to get that loose, but I still feel an overhead press, and now it's actually come around, and I've been getting soreness in the front of my neck, like next to my windpipe. like when I yawn and sneeze now, like that tenses up and gets tight, and I think it's all still stemming from my right side is just fucked up. That's my pec is tight on that side, which we don't know if it's my pec or if it's coming from my lat. That neck issue's going on. It's all tight in there, and so I may just scrap overhead press completely. I mean, my overhead press is pretty strong. My shoulders are pretty decently big at this point. Like, I'm not going to get a whole lot of benefit.
You should do more recovery work. You know.
Well, that's the other thing that screwed all this up too. Bless you.
Thank you.
So that screwed all this up too is I had a bunch of cardio days planned in between all my lifts. It's kind of how my thing was set up. My lifts really spread out, so there's good recovery. And all those cardio days, I was stretching, I was rolling, I was doing the things I was supposed to do. All that got scrapped for the most part over the last few weeks when I got behind on my lifts, and I've just been lifting more. And I've only done like maybe 3 cardio days in the last 3 weeks, and so I haven't been doing a lot of the maintenance stuff that I was doing to begin with too.
Gotcha.
So all things got absolutely screwed up.
Yeah, you're doing great.
You're talking about me?
My week's good. I'm having a good week.
Yeah, how's your week going?
I got 3 out of my 4 lifts done so far.
1 week in, you're already behind.
Yes. So technically, I had to start over because I started this program, and then 1 or 2 days in, we hit that storm where I had to go out of town.
Sure.
And all that was available to me was the hotel gym, which I did go and just move around and do some light dumbbell stuff, but obviously didn't dive into the program I put together.
Sure.
So I got through the 3 days this week, and I'm not gonna lie, everything's pretty sore as expected.
Which is positive.
The high reps. You said it took a week or two for your body to. Oh my god, good.
I don't know how to drink water.
Oh my god. So.
Yeah, so I would say when I first went on this hypertrophy phase back in January when we were with the old trainer, after week 1 there was a good amount of adaptation for my body, and I wasn't as sore, and I was able to hit the reps better. So it took about a week to get into it. On this new thing that I went on, which is kind of a blend of hypertrophy versus strength, got a little bit of both in there. I was sore as fuck after week 1, and it was hard to do. Whole week 1 was hard to do. Came back for week 2, everything was a breeze, barely any soreness. So like the body adapts fast. At least my body does.
I was gonna say
I'm built different.
This is reminding me of the hypertrophy type, all the AMRAP stuff we had in that last program with our last trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like finding failure when I shouldn't. I shouldn't be finding failure, and then having to drop the weight a significant amount.
You can find failure
You're welcome.
at a soccer tournament where they're handing out participation
It's
trophies.
called push yourself. You're welcome. I'm just.
I've never seen someone find failure.
There's only RPE 10s, 11s.
You ever thought about dropping the weight?
No. I go hard in the paint.
Got it.
So I'm curious how the rest of the next few weeks goes. If I do adapt, or if I got to show some restraint and not find failure.
Well, what's the approach there? So you pick a weight wrong. Do you cut it a few reps short, or you still hit the?
So I've cut it a few reps short and then dropped the weight to finish the set.
But if you already fucked yourself.
But yeah, I think I didn't stop it soon enough. And that's
tough to identify.
It is, especially with so many reps.
I learned that with my overhead press in this phase that I was running, where it took me 3 weeks to figure out what weights to operate on my overhead press that I didn't fuck myself over, because I was running a pyramid and a pyramid down, and so I would hit the 10 reps and I'd complete it, but it'd be like an RPE 9, and it probably should have been like a 7, and then I'd do the 8 reps, and then that's a 10. And then now I'm not hitting the 6 reps or the 4 reps. So like I was fucked. It took me till week 3 to get the right weights down, and like it's amazing how quickly you can fuck yourself.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I don't know. It's the dumbbell press shit that just keeps getting me. The flat bench dumbbell press. I got a decent for my size. I got a decent dumbbell press. That, I hit the 120s for 2.9 according to our Instagram followers.
We posted
2.9 reps.
We talked, I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago, about Noah's dumbbell bench that he was trying to hit a 3-rep max on or something stupid.
Oh, I did.
And he hit like half a rep.
Stop it.
And so we posted to Instagram. You guys let us know that it was anywhere from 2 to 4 reps, depending on who was
It
looking
was
at it.
definitely not 4 reps, but thank you for whoever said that.
Yeah, I was a little confused on the 4 reps myself, but
Yeah, so I could do the weight. So I benched and then I went to dumbbell bench and I did a set with the 60s and I'm like, I can't finish this set of 10. And had to drop it. And I'm like, oh my god.
that's funny because I just the other day did my overhead press and then went and did a set of 10 with strict press on dumbbells with the 60s.
Yeah.
And did them.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know. The dumbbells were not pressing, let me tell you. So it's just, I don't know. I gotta learn. I gotta fucking learn. It's unbelievable. So there's still a lot of development I gotta do. So we've got some topics here. Let's actually get to some content since we have.
Well, I learned something new today.
Me too. About caffeine and.
Oh no, I mean before we got here, or before we started this, so it turns out based on a broad Google search, and trusting what Noah read, we're nutritionists.
We are.
We are nutritionists.
Yeah, it's going on the next business
Yeah,
card.
I'm glad that we can add that to our title now.
Yeah. There is no minimum requirement for nutrition other than you give diet advice. I'm like, oh, I can do that.
That is wild.
Yeah. So congratulations to all our viewers. You all are probably nutritionists as well. Yeah. So we were trying to decipher the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist. Because I have a family member that I don't think they went to a bunch of school for it, but they were giving diet advice.
Who would give diet advice without going to school?
Yeah. Just eat your 64-ounce coffee. Drink your 64-ounce coffee. So it was curious the advice that she works at a clinic, and I was just picking her brain on what they. The advice they tend to give or offer people, and I don't know if we necessarily agree with
any of it.
But
at the end of the day, I don't know who we are to argue.
Sure.
Necessarily. I mean, we did start this first episode of this podcast out talking about how we're just kind of idiots fumbling our way through everything, but I do feel like we have developed a decent amount of knowledge on stuff to be able to spot what's wrong.
Sure, and we have been able to help people get stronger, lose weight, whatever their goal has been. It's only been 6, maybe 7 months that we've been actually working with people.
Right. And
So.
I do feel like we have a decent amount of knowledge. Like, again, we don't think we know everything, and we are still trying to find our way in the weeds on some stuff, but we feel like we have enough of the general things to give advice to people and help them get results, and to know when somebody's doesn't know what they're talking about necessarily.
Yeah, it was interesting. So just some of the stuff that she mentioned was, she had a client come in and they're about 5'5", 250 pounds, and the guy said he's following some bodybuilder online or whatever, and he's eating 3,500 calories a day, and I think he came in for weight loss.
Sure.
And she goes, well, can't lose weight eating that much. And I don't know if we discussed it on the podcast, but I mean, at one point, Red was eating 3,400 calories a day and steadily losing weight.
I think a pound a week. Is it a half pound or a
Yeah,
pound a week?
it was like you had to throw on the brakes.
Yeah, and wasn't doing anything wild as far as activity goes either. It's not like I was out running a half marathon every day or anything like that. Like I was lifting pretty typically and doing light cardio on off days. Like,
and just to clarify, the only reason that was working for Red is because of the muscle mass that he has. You can't, somebody who's 250 and doesn't have a lot of muscle eating 3,400 calories a day, not going to be good for you.
Unless you activity level super high. If you can get the activity level up there and make it happen, you can get away with that.
Even then, super hard to outwork a bad diet.
I am in the process of doing it right now, though. As you were saying that, I just thought of another thing too. With that person, they're following a bodybuilder. that bodybuilder, if he's not natural, I mean, if he's eating the same or there's two options here. That bodybuilder may be 6'4", eating 3,500 calories a day. Meanwhile, this guy's 5'5", eating 3,500 calories a day. Or that bodybuilder's on some gear and stuff where maybe their nutritional needs are higher. I don't know the ins and outs of gear use and things like that, but I think there is some stuff that you use.
Gear.
It can be. It's typically steroids is like the term that most people use, but like there's various ways to describe whether it's a steroid or what it is. But there's many options when you look into gear use, and I do think some of them, from what I understand, increase appetite, and not only increase appetite, you burn through food a little bit quicker. Your metabolism is higher while you're on there. Is what I understand. I don't know if I don't know enough about gear use. I've never used it, so I don't have a whole lot of information on it. So, but let's say that is the case, that dude's following a bodybuilder that's, not natural, and he's eating 3,500 calories because he is on a ton of gear and needs that.
Which is probably pretty typical in that industry, that realm, is you hit a certain natural point, or, a natural ceiling with your body, and then, the next step might be to use some sort of gear or something.
It's
so
definitely
it's very
that way.
common.
Definitely that way in strongman.
Yeah.
Like there is definitely a limit on what you can accomplish being natural, and you can still accomplish a lot if you're in the weight classes that I'm in. If you're in the 200-pound weight class, I still will run into a ton of guys that aren't natural, but there's still a decent amount of guys that are producing well. If you're competing super heavyweight up with the 300-pounders, it's going to be near impossible to be competitive if you're not on gear. We're talking world strongest man level and things like that. Like it's not feasible to think unless you are some genetic freak. And even if you are a genetic freak, like Eddie Hall's a genetic freak, he's also on gear. So he's a genetic freak that's on gear. How do you compete?
Yeah.
So that's just kind of going to be what's going to happen in that sense. And we don't have any, I don't have any strong opinions on gear use, using it, not using it. I don't think you necessarily have any strong opinions.
No, I think talking it out with certain people, I grew up in a baseball home, and my dad was always against, steroids in the game of baseball, and it ruins the game of baseball, but I think I've calmed down on that belief. Just, if everybody's going to do it and it's done safely, then...
And that's the thing too, is reason it's not safe for most people is they do it wrong.
Yeah.
There's many safe ways to approach it, and most people overdo it. It's just like any other drug, they abuse it.
Sure.
And drug abuse is bad no matter what the drug is. So, and then for me, I am kind of similar, we're same age, grew up in an era where steroids were terrible, and it's never something you should do. And it's so like initial thought when I talk through steroids, I'm like, oh no, don't do that, that's terrible. And then I've kind of come along and I'm like, you know what, if under proper guidance, it makes sense for many people that are competitive. If you're just, random Steve on the street that just wants to look nice, no, don't.
Yeah.
Don't. Absolutely not. There's no reason, because a lot of that stuff, once you start, you got to stay on something the rest of your life. Then.
Sure.
Otherwise, because you fucked up all your hormones and stuff. So if you don't continue to keep up those hormones, you're now looking at like having testosterone like no one does. So it's one of those things where there needs to be a valid, good reason to do it. But if you're trying to be a competitive athlete, then you know what, and everyone else in the sport's doing it, you're at a strong disadvantage if you're choosing not to.
Right. One of the other things she brought up was, and maybe she misspoke, or maybe that, I don't know. So her mentality, the bodybuilder comes in and says, I want to lose weight. Her mentality was, let's help you lose weight, and then let's build muscle. Whereas like, if mentally it probably works better for a lot of people.
It's going to be easy. Losing weight's going to be faster.
Sure.
So to your point, mentally, I'm getting results.
Yeah. So, but if I want to build muscle and get stronger in the long run, typically we just work on building muscle. A lot of people that come in here say, they want to get stronger. They want to look nice too. We usually clarify with them like, hey, can we eat a certain way, lift a certain way to build up size, which comes, a little bit of fat comes with the territory.
Sure. And
then we'll use that muscle to burn off fat later on. And typically most everyone's been pretty aligned with that thought process. So that's kind of something else but if it works for them mentally, and you need those small wins to keep you going,
and
by all means.
If you're walking into this gym or wherever she's working at, 50 pounds overweight, then yeah, maybe you do target weight loss first.
Yeah.
Because that's let's be able to move.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
I mean, when you're that overweight, weight's gonna fall off quickly, and you're gonna feel better every day that you lose. Like I notice a difference every 10 pounds I lose. Like I feel drastically better about every 10 pounds. So someone who's 50 pounds overweight, if it's the same for them, maybe it's 20 pounds they need to lose and they feel better. But that 20 pounds is gonna fly off pretty quickly if they're active and moving. And the more weight they lose, the more active they can be. So like if you're that overweight, I can see that happening. Which
is 5'5". I mean,
yeah, 250. I'm 5'7", 225, and when I was 245, packing on a lot of muscle at that point, I still was pretty overweight.
Yeah.
So unless this dude is just completely jacked out of his freaking mind, like
you're probably not going in there for weight loss if you're in the vast majority muscle at that point.
Exactly. So he is probably, I would imagine, at least 50 pounds overweight, if not more. Like for someone's 5'5", that's a typical human. You're probably talking 180 pounds is their like status quo weight, like 12 or 15% body fat. They're probably about 180 pounds. So he's probably got a good 70 pounds to lose. So starting with weight loss with someone like that, I could see being the smarter choice.
Right. Continuing on with dieting and stuff like that, I had a topic on here from one of our last podcasts about sustainability, like sustainable tips for dieting, that I wanted to cover, and some of it like what's typical. So people are typically too busy to eat, right? And let's say their goal is to get stronger, and we've already mentioned you gotta prioritize protein, but don't fall behind, right? I mean, I started setting alarms for as a reminder to drink more water. I'm trying to drink more water. That's part of my goal, and that has helped. I'm not waking up early enough right now consistently to hit all my alarms and my goals throughout the day, but I'm 4/5 of my goal every day. So that's good. But when you fall behind, both with if you're drinking water or if you're just trying to follow a diet, eating's gonna be miserable, drinking's gonna be miserable. If I gotta drink fucking 48 ounces before I go to bed, I'm not gonna sleep well for one because I gotta pee.
Right, and you're actually probably doing yourself a detriment because you're probably dehydrating your body because you're water loading at that point, and you're gonna try to expel the water, and you're actually fucking yourself over even more. And then most people aren't trying to do 48 ounces probably before bed.
No.
People do though. People are like, I had to get a gallon today, and I still have half gallon to drink. Well, here we go.
I used to slam my smoothie to hit my carbs.
Sure.
And I'm talking a full shaker smoothie, 24 ounces, 130 grams of carbs before I go to bed just to hit my macros.
The trick that I've learned with water, at least, and not with smoothies, is if you're short on water, it's the end of the day, 20 ounces of water with a liquid IV, that normally gets me ready. Yeah. And that's not going to be too much water. It's not like you're water loading at that point. And then the liquid IV just helps the uptake better into your system.
The other thing I have on here is utilize meal replacement shakes, which I think we've also talked about. But diving a little deeper into that, I, for example, don't like breakfast. I just like to get up and get to work, like start driving to work. So I've started taking. I know. I just. Ugh. I started taking breakfast with me, which maybe you could do that, maybe you can't. But stuff like that, like I don't like breakfast, but maybe I can drink a shake. Maybe I can drink a meal replacement shake, or I'm too busy for lunch because of your job or whatever. That's a good spot for a shake. Like meal replacement, it's great. It's 50 grams of protein, 75 grams of carbs. The one I do is a little bit gritty.
It's the grittiest protein shake I've ever had, but it's the only meal replacement protein shake I've ever had.
Right. So I mean that's another tip too. I think it's a great tool. Sneaking protein into things you're already eating.
Yeah,
that's a good tool.
Yeah, that's something that I've been trying to master over time. Like I'm now doing cottage cheese into my scrambled eggs every morning, which if you cook them long enough, you don't notice it. If you're someone who likes a gooey egg, then that's great for you, and the cottage cheese is gonna make it even gooier, I guess. But I cooked the shit out of it, but not like burning it, and like it cooks all the moisture out. It tastes the same. There's no flavor difference. I thought it was gonna make my eggs cheesy because that's like when I saw this, like so I was like, oh, it makes the eggs cheesy.
Like your jokes?
Oh my god. And I thought I for sure thought it was gonna be cheesy, but I think they were probably undercooking them, and they like them gooey, and so they stayed cheesy. For me, there's no texture difference, there's no flavor difference. It works great. The other thing I was doing is I would do pancake mix, not protein pancake mix, just regular pancake mix. Put in a scoop of protein, throw in 2 eggs. The eggs are getting my fat up a little bit, and I'm getting additional protein from it. And obviously, I'm getting the protein from the protein powder. Like just sneaking protein in wherever you get. I will do yogurt. If I'm doing Greek yogurt, half scoop of protein into 250 grams of Greek yogurt, and then 32 grams of peanut butter, all into one thing.
Are you throwing oats in there too, or is that?
I have nothing oats into that, but I do stir that all together. It tastes amazing. A little peanut butter, I do use brownie batter, protein into it, into a vanilla Greek yogurt. It tastes great. I'll do protein into my oatmeal. I tried an egg into an oatmeal. Don't do that. It's not good.
Not all ideas are great ideas.
No. But
That's
there's
funny.
ways to sneak protein into a lot of things. You just gotta be a little creative with it. And go scroll TikTok, scroll Instagram. If your algorithm's correct, you're going to come across a million fucking recipes.
Yeah, definitely. I got some other stuff on here, but we're running out of time.
We are running out of time.
So I'll just save it for next week.
Definitely. We will be.
Just say it. We'll be here next week at the gym.
Yeah, so this is another one we're putting out pretty close to when it's being recorded. This goes out tomorrow. I don't know the next time we're going to record yet. It may be some time, so like there may be like a little bit of time in between the podcast, but this will come out normally. So we'll talk about when we record that next one. I don't know why I was going to dive into that now because we don't even know when.
I'm sure our viewers were all wondering when we were going to record the next one.
I'm sure they're really
not when it comes out.
Jesus Christ. All right, so we will talk to you guys next week then.
See ya.